is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Well, thanks to a Harrison Mevis field goal, the leg of Harrison Mevis gives the Missouri Tigers another win as they claim a 33-31 victory over the Florida Gators, escape the near upset victory. Welcome into Mizzou. That's who your podcast from Missouri Athletics here on KC Sports Network, hanging out with Gabe DeArmond and Maggie Johnson. Gabe, how you doing?
Exhausted. Other than that, I got nothing. No, that was one of those that you just walk out the stadium, even just if you were there as a fan, and like you're just kind of wrung out. I mean, that was, I think it was 6 lead changes in the second half, and I know not a game that Missouri fans went into expecting to be that close. Again, I thought all week people were don't get me wrong, I picked a 2-touchdown game, but I thought there was a chance that what happened Saturday night could happen. And I don't think most people even had that on their radar as possible. And I'm not sure how Florida's 5-6 because, man, they got some dudes on that team.
Yeah, played well, put up a great fight. They also didn't have 2 of their starting tackles, I don't think. Their starting quarterback went out in the middle of the game, and it was still a 2-point game. Maggie, how were the vibes at Faroe?
They were good. I agree. And, none of us here, I feel like we're pretty unbiased whenever we make picks and things like that. And we all picked Mizzou to cover. And I feel like we're all usually pretty, level-headed on that. And not that we weren't, but, I picked 35-21, I think. And that's definitely the biggest point cover I've ever picked for Mizzou. And I probably should have, thought that through a little bit. But I think after they picked us to be 2.5-point underdogs to Tennessee, I just, going to go with the theme here. I feel like Mizzou still thought that they, I still think that they do, think that they have something to prove. And I just think that there was so much going on, the pomp and circumstance of it all, I guess you could say. And yeah, I think we just got kind of caught up in the moment, but you got out of there with a win. And I think that's the most important part. I don't think that anything's really going to change in terms of rankings. The only thing I could see changing maybe is the Louisville, but that's really it. I don't think it will because they played a tough one with Miami still. So I think everything is fine.
Yeah, Mizzou moved up to 10 in the AP poll. That's because Oregon State lost.
And the coaches, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's just... And everybody underneath them moved up. It was funny to look at, the AP poll and just see up one, up one, up one, up one for everybody. It just happens when teams like that lose. But, look, 9-win season for the Missouri Tigers so far. First 9-win season since 2014 and 9th in the program's history. Obviously a big win. It was one of those that I had texted somebody after the game was over, and I said, Gabe, pretty much what you said is I said I'm worn out. I was tired. I was ready for bed at that point. I was like, I can't watch any more football. That mentally drained me. I can't do it. And I at one point I texted BJ Kissel and I said, this game's gonna put me in the hospital, just because of everything that was going on. It was clear in some ways that Missouri was missing 2 of their starting linebackers on defense. That was one of the frustrations that arose for me very quickly in that game. As every middle-aged man likes to yell at their TV to teenagers playing college football, wrap up, is what I found myself yelling a whole lot during that game. But that was, I think, and Eli Drinkwitz even addressed that after the game. Of I think he was asked about how are the losses of Tyrone Popper? And he said, well, it was pretty evident. And yeah. I think that that we all kind of felt that way.
Yeah. And the defense had trouble tackling. To the point where had they lost, the play we all remember is, oh, hey, the quarterback just struck 2 guys at one time and knocked them both out of the game. And by the way, knocked himself out of the game on the very next play.
Yeah.
Tackling was bad. Drink said, he said he was concerned coming in, and this is kind of what we don't think about, because of the energy that Missouri had to put into the last 2 weeks. And we talk about it all the time, but you have at number 1 Georgia. It is the game they all came here to play. And then you come back the very next week and you have to get back up for Tennessee. And it's why we talk about all the time, like these, smaller conference teams that go 12-0. Yeah, but if they played in this league, they wouldn't go 12-0 because you have to get up every week. Because if you're not up, Florida, which is going to finish 5-7, might beat you. And Missouri's been that 5-7 team that can at times beat somebody. They left a lot of points on the field.
Yeah,
a lot of points. It's such a misleading thing. Missouri is number 1 in the country in red zone scoring percentage. They're 71st in red zone touchdown percentage. They were trading 7 for 3 a lot, and that was really the only difference in the game. Kind of late third quarter had Missouri turned a couple of those into touchdowns, or maybe not had 3 touchdowns called back by penalty, so which were varying levels of good calls probably, it would have been a far different game, but it wasn't. They found themselves in a street fight, and like they'd done more often than not, they just found a way, and this time it was 4th and 17.
Here's a question for you. Where is Mizzou at in terms of a season? Because we know where Mizzou's at in terms of, we're like where we're actually at. We're 9-2. It's a great season. But like, where are we at overall if we are turning those into touchdowns? You know what I mean? Because are we 10-1? Are we 11-0?
Yeah, it is kind of at that point where I think people are looking back and going, that snap against LSU kind of hurts worse, because it didn't hurt that bad at the time because none of us thought this was a 10-2 team, and the pick against Georgia hurts a little worse. I get it, but you take those and you also understand you just picked up 4th and 17. You had a 62-yard field goal that won a game. I think most people look at this team and think, yeah, 10-2, top 10 in the country. That's probably about what they really are, right? However they've gotten here, I think you end up most times about where you should be. And I think what Missouri is a team that, and people really need to understand this over the next 6 to 12 days. If they beat Arkansas, there is almost no way they're missing the New Year's Six. It would have to be nuclear winter of things to happen, or the committee to just wake up and go, no, we're just kidding. We told you we liked you, but we really don't like you.
Yeah.
But there's also basically no way they're making the play. It doesn't matter who loses in front of them. Missouri is going to be a 10-2 team at best that didn't win its own division. They're not going to the playoffs. So just to be happy, this is a team that probably should be 10-2, is going to be in the top 10 in the rankings, and that's what they are. And it's cool to talk about, hey, how close we were to more and all that, but not bad.
I do think it's funny that Eli was asked after the game. I just got done listening to his press conference a little bit ago, and he said someone asked him, "Do you wish the 12-team playoff was this year?" And he said, "Nope."
No, he does.
Right.
We all do.
Right. It was one of those things where you have to say no, and we know that you have to say no, but we know you really mean yes, type of deal. But no, it was...
What he really meant was no, but I'm not going to answer that.
Right. Exactly. I thought it was funny when he was taking a sip of his Diet Coke, trying not to get a fine from officials, because the ending of that game
oh my God,
was insane. They put a second back on the clock, and I was very confused because I was like, wait, didn't they already do a post game interview with Eli Drinkwitz? And that's why I was so confused. And I was like, is something messed up with my TV? Did it accidentally go back a little bit? And I was like, no, this is live. That was by far one of the most bizarre things that I've seen. I don't know if I'd ever seen that. And Eli even said in the post game presser that, there was a lot of reviews. Just in that game as a whole, there was a ton of reviews in that game. And I felt like the Luther review took a long time on the touchdown, which he didn't catch that ball, which I was really hoping that he would have been, because how sick would that have been to go on the old highlight film, the old AM1 mixtape for old Luther. But lots of reviews in that game. The ending of that game, let's just talk about just that last drive there. There's a minute and a half and some change. I think it's maybe minute 33 that they get the ball back with.
36, yeah.
36. and they get a drive and they get quickly to fourth down. I don't know how you were feeling, Maggie, in the stadium, how the vibe was as they get quickly to fourth down there. 4th and 17. I believe it was after was it a swing pass to Cody Schrader where he ran out of bounds for like a loss of 2 or something like that. I don't know what the vibe was like, Maggie, around you, but take me through kind of what the setting was like before that 4th and 17.
I mean, my head was in my hands for a little bit of that. I mean, it's so hard in that moment to not think that you're going to lose because you've seen it happen so many times before. And I hate to say that, like, because we've talked about,
but like not just to Missouri, everybody.
To everybody,
it's just not a Missouri thing.
Everybody's been in this moment where you've gotten in this position, and you're at the end of your season, and you're so close to making this big bowl game, and then you lose to a team that is not very good. Like, so many teams have gotten into that position. Mizzou's gotten into that position, and then you do this, and you get the ball back with the chance to do it, and then you find yourself in a 4th and 17. Like, what? Or you find yourself in the K-State position where you get a delay of game. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's so crazy. But yeah, I mean, everybody was pretty deflated at that moment. And then I don't even know what happened in this play. I don't know if it was if they ran something that messed up.
I think what happened is that Florida played zone, and Luther basically turned into Travis Kelce and said, well, I'm kind of supposed to go there, but like, I'm just open right here, so I'm just going to go here.
Yeah.
And Brady Cook found it.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. And it was funny because Clint Cosgrove, who, Mizzou fans all love, obviously rivals Clint Cosgrove, was like, I don't know what Florida was doing. Everybody in the stadium knows he's going to Luther Burden, to the GOAT of Missouri, Luther Burden. And yeah, he just jumped up and he caught it. And there's 4 Florida defenders all standing around him. And even a Florida guy, like, tried to like wave it off like it was incomplete before Luther even caught it, which was ridiculous. But yeah, amazing catch. And I mean, props to Brady. After hell of a throw. And then after he made that 4th and 17 pass, he became a completely new quarterback on that drive. Completely new quarterback. He made a great throw to Mackay. He made a great throw to Mookie. And then just let Meebus do his thing. And it just changed. That 4th and 17 changed everything. Like, at that point, I was like, oh yeah, this game's over.
There was little doubt. I thought that they were going to go score after that. So, when they're facing 4th and 17, clock is stopped.
Yeah.
And Eli Drinkwitz calls timeout. And I said, that's not really when you want to use it, right? Clock's already stopped. You now don't have one. But Ben Fredrickson made a good point. He said, but you have to have the right play. Like, if you don't like what you're in, or nothing else matters if you don't get this. So it doesn't matter if you don't have any timeouts. So during the timeout, we're sitting there and we can hear the Florida radio guys because the visiting radio booth is literally right next to the press box and the windows are like this thick. And they're on the radio and he says, it is just so incredibly unlikely to convert 4th and 17. And Ben and I both looked at each other like, oh, dude, don't say that on the radio broadcast, man. Like, we all know it, but don't say it, And then obviously they did. And then they get down to the 29 with 13 seconds left. I would have kicked from the 29. I would have just sent me the 13 seconds left because a lot of things can happen, right? What if you get a bad snap?
Yeah.
This has happened before. What if somebody just blows a block? What if somebody false starts or holds? What if Brady slips? What if somebody doesn't get out of bounds? Like, so many things can happen with no timeouts that I'm not sure I would have done them. But Drinkwitz trusted his team to make the play. They made the play. So, like I was saying on Thursday night after the basketball game, I no longer really question what Dennis Gates does because he just waves his hand and it turns to fairy dust and magic. So good for him. That's look, I wasn't sure about a couple of the things Eli did on that last drive, but they all worked. So shut up. That's why he's down there and I'm up there, running a blog in the press box.
Can we also talk about how when Florida had the ball before they kicked that field goal, they ran a pass play and he ran out of bounds?
Biggest play of the game.
Yeah.
Like we all immediately said, they just saved Missouri 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, why did you do that?
Like, it was so weird because their offensive scheme was pretty impressive. And they have some guys over there, and they just looked like they hadn't been coached in weeks. I mean, so many false starts and delay of games and timeouts out of delay of games and running out of bounds with 1:30. It was wild.
Billy Napier in the second half had to at least call 2 timeouts to show what was his name? Max Brown, is that his name?
I think so. I didn't really think that.
To show him where the play clock was. Like, you got to look right there. Like, that's where the play clock is. And that's what they showed on the TV broadcast. He's like pointing at the play clock. He's like, you have to pay attention right here to get the snap off. And obviously, that's that kid's first time playing in like major college football. So I'm not shocked by that, but still having to spend 2 timeouts when you're in the hunt to try to upset a top 10 team just to show your quarterback where the play clock is less than an ideal situation.
I mean, that going out of bounds, though, that was the biggest play of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Missouri wins the game if he just falls down. Fall down. And we were talking, but it's the old thing, right? Do you run and just force them to use the timeout, or do you actually try to get a first down? Because we were talking before that play, Florida could have gotten a first down at the 7. And I was saying, so what you tell your team is, okay, line up on the 7-yard line. If they get to you, don't tackle them. Like, throw them in the end zone from there.
Yeah.
Because if they get a first down and they don't score, we're not getting the ball back and we're going to lose. So, like, let them score, but only if they get to the 7. I don't really know how you teach a football player to do that, right? Like, here's the 7-yard line. If he gets there, stop trying to tackle it. But that was my approach. But I mean, yeah, that was a really, really not super smart play.
No. And that was one of those things he like went out of bounds. I was like, oh my gosh, he actually did it. He actually went out. It's one of those things that I yell at my TV just to be like, try to manifest it, I guess. Just like go out of bounds. And he actually did it. I was like, wait a second.
Our whole section was like, oh my gosh, did he just do that? Like, everybody in our section who doesn't play football knew that he shouldn't do that.
Yeah, you should do it. But an incredible drive, a legacy drive possibly for Brady Cook there when it comes down to it. And there was some chatter with the people I was watching with. Do they try to center the ball and then spike it and then try to get Mevis out there so it's more of a straight shot? And because the angle was a little weird, right? It was one of those close angled field goals. I believe they tried to center it right against Auburn last year, and they did get it centered, but then Mevis still missed it. And that was one of the things that I thought I was like, you can center it all you want. You still got to make the kick regardless. But that was one of the things I was talking about. But no timeouts going into like that last, the 4th down, as you mentioned, Gabe, there's a big timeout call, but you're right. Got to have the right play call. And they did. Watch the play back, there's a route coming behind Luther.
It's Theo Weiss who's basically boxing out a defender when Luther catches. He's just standing.
Yeah. And it's great. And it's good to see Luther, for that to happen with Luther Burton is great for on so many levels for Missouri, right? When it comes to looking at just like the big picture of the Missouri football program, to have a guy that's a 5-star athlete stay home in his home state and come up in a big play like that at a big moment, just to be able to showcase that to other, maybe St. Louis wide receivers that might want to come to Missouri who are 5-star guys. That could potentially still flip. But anyway, you can still show that to people to as a good recruiting thing. But I mean, the crowd there, sold out crowd. I believe it was the 5th straight one. That's the longest streak they've had in Fairfield history, which I was kind of surprised by that when I saw that note come out. But yeah, Cody Schrader again had another big game, 148 yards on the ground. The offense was movable. We'll talk a little bit more about the offense. First, got to tell you about our friends at homefieldapparel.com. As you see, as always, I'm rocking the hoodie. Love the hoodie. What shirt is that, Maggie? Is that a crew neck?
Yeah, it's a crew neck.
Ooh,
Pretty old school Tiger.
it's a really cool one. I don't know if I've seen that one actually, or
I know,
have
it's pretty cool.
close attention enough to find that one on homefieldapparel.com. But listen, they got their Black Friday sale going on right now. They got all kinds of deals going on. So if you love college merch as much as we do, make sure to go to homefieldapparel.com. Go check them out. 20% off on the Black Friday deal. That runs for a pretty long time when it comes to it. I'm pulling up the information right now on the Black Friday deal because I think it goes through into December. Where you can get the 20% off for the home field apparel. And they've got more than just the Missouri Tigers. They've got Tulane. Team's hot right now if you want to support the Tulane Hurricanes. But it goes
Green Wave.
Okay, this is what happens with me. I get Tulsa and Tulane mixed up. Both start with T. Both have really cool mascots. Both are water-based. And I just get them confused a little bit. Regardless, sale goes into November 26th is where the sale goes to. 20% off the entire site with code Black Friday. This is the biggest discount that they offer all year, so do not miss out. And listen, they're not going to guarantee anything that's on their site, so it's first come, first serve when it comes there. It's a perfect gifts too. I know I've got a couple buddies that I'm going to be getting some Nebraska stuff for. So I gotta do that for some Christmas shopping here. I'm gonna go ahead and hit up that Black Friday. 20% off the entire site with code Black Friday. So go check that out. Get your gifts, get yourself all set up with everything at homefieldapparel.com. All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back coming up right after this to talk more Mizzou versus Florida.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
All right, let's talk about Cody Schrader a little bit here because he has another big game. I mean, listen, it wasn't a Tennessee game, right? He didn't have 200 yards on the ground, still had 148 on the ground. A good performance from Cody there. 1,272 yards for Cody this season. Pretty darn good season. He's 6th now on the Tigers single season rushing chart, and he just needs 333 past Tyler Beatty's record that he set back in 2021. Again, Gabe, we talked about it last week about Cody Schrader's story and how it's almost unreal, right? And that what you said was if somebody wrote it, you'd say it was too cheesy, and it would be. But again, Cody Schrader has a good day coming up on hit the Tyler Beatty record, which really opened things up for I think Luther and Theo and all those other guys to get things going.
It's what we talked about last week, right? Like they have different ways to win games. Cody Schrader had he was like 114 yards at halftime, which means he only had 34, 38, something like that after halftime. But you know what happened after halftime? He always had a 77-yard touchdown catch. And Missouri went on a 65-yard drive to win the game. And Brady Cook threw the ball, and Mookie Cooper and Mekhi Miller and Luther Burden all had big plays. So it is... Again, it's what I've been saying for a while. Like they have won games where Brady's thrown for 400, where Cody's run for 200, where the defense has won the game, where their punter has thrown a game-changing touchdown pass. I mean, they have won games in so many different ways that it's like Darius Robinson said last night, I wasn't good. Ines Rakestraw posts on Twitter, worst game of the year, but it was a win. So that's I think we want this to be a video game in perfection. And in the moment, there was a lot of frustration last night, but all that they had to do was score one more point than Florida and one more point than Arkansas, and they are going where you want them to go. And they did.
It's better to me to play that worst game of the year in a game when you're playing a team like Florida, you're playing a team like Arkansas, as opposed to when you're playing a team like Georgia. And yes, we lost to Georgia, and that still sucks, but at least you went into that Georgia game playing one of your better games. You made mistakes, but playing one of your better games. Because if you go into a game like that and you play one of your worst games, then you never even had a shot. Like, at least you had a shot to win that game. You know what I mean? So if you go into, like, you wanted to have a shot to beat Georgia. Like, if you would have at least never known what it could have been, I mean, that would have really sucked. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like, I would have at least, I don't know.
Yeah. What I think is really interesting about this Missouri offense, and this isn't something that that I knew prior to, when I started to sit down and do some research for the podcast here, they are really close to doing something that Missouri has never done in history. As it turns out, they're 228 rushing yards away from having a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard receiver, and a 15,000-yard rusher. 1,500.
1,500.
Oh, I was
like, 1,500. My bad. I added an extra zero in my head. But still, with 3,000, Brady Cook has over 3,000 yards. Luther has over 1,000. Cody is incredibly close to 1,500 rushing yards, 228. Something that can happen. That'll be the first time in program history that would happen for an offense. And again, I go back to August when we were talking about this football team. Not something I would have guessed that Missouri would have had a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard receiver, and a 1,500-yard rusher. Not something I would have guessed.
Yeah, Cody has, like you said, he's 6th all-time, single season, and I think should get to the 3rd. First or second is possible, but it'll take a couple big days.
Yeah.
Luther has more receiving yards in a single season than anybody since Denario Alexander in 2009. And last night was what Missouri never had last year, which is, all right, your defense is getting gapped. They're getting beat. They don't have their starting linebackers. They can't figure this out. They don't know where the ball is, and they're exhausted. You're going to have to go score. I said at one point, after Florida's second touchdown drive in the third quarter, it was just kind of obvious Missouri can't really stop. So you're going to have the ball last, and you're going to have to score most of the times you touch it. And Missouri went and did it, and so I think deserve a lot of credit for that. But again, there have been times where the defense has carried this team. Wasn't last night, but there have been times.
And they still got those turnovers last night, which is great. But I was talking to somebody after the game, and they were like, "Oh, our offensive line played so terrible last night." And did they block as good as they? I know. Somebody told me that last night. Well, right. I know. And I'm like,
people are weird.
And it's crazy because I feel like Cody Schrader kind of silently had 148 yards. When I looked at the stats, I went, "Holy crap, he had 148 yards last night." I didn't even know.
So much of it was early.
Yeah, I didn't even know he had that many yards. And I honestly didn't even know that Luther Burden had 158 yards. I mean, I knew that he had quite a few yards, but I didn't know he had that many yards. But it was funny because I know that the offensive line has obviously played a lot better in the last few games than I think that they played in the beginning of the year. And I think that that's maybe why it didn't seem like and Cody Schrader played so great last week that just maybe it seemed like a little bit of a downer from last week to this week, even though they didn't play terribly. But you have to look in comparison to last year to this year, and looking at the offensive line. If you think the offense didn't play as good this year, we were averaging 17 points a game last year. We scored over we scored 33 points yesterday. The offense played fine. The offense played fine. We gave up 31 points. That was the issue. The defense was the issue. You can't say anything else except that the defense was the issue yesterday.
I just looked at the stats. Florida had 1 sack for 3 yards. Missouri averaged 7.6 yards a play and had 508 yards. And anybody that says the offense didn't play well should, literally that person should not be allowed to go to another football game. Somebody who understands football should have their ticket. And that person should have to go watch a different sport that they understand better than this.
I will say
that was one of your friends telling they can't go to the game with you.
Not allowed.
If you're listening,
that was me.
You know who you are.
Powerless and calm on Twitter.
Nate Pete had a nice run, 16-yard run for old Nate Pete. He got out in space and said, "Hang on a minute." Hang on.
No, well, they play. Pete and Schrader were in the backfield a couple times together because Cody played every snap in that game. Never came off the field on offense. And Nate Pete had a couple carries, and they did some different things. That the touchdown that wasn't a touchdown to Brett Norfleet was a really nice concept.
Which is his own fault.
Things. It was not his fault.
It was not his
It
fault.
was
No.
the slot receiver's fault. It was the slot receiver's fault.
Okay.
The slot, they were lined up. Cody Schrader was on the line. The slot receiver was off the line. And for some reason, the slot receiver stepped up to the line and waved Cody back. That covered up Norfleet and made him an ineligible receiver.
Okay.
Or as Drinkwitz said after the game, the slot receiver decided to get on the line of scrimmage, which I don't really know why. For some reason or something like that.
He said there was a couple of things that happened that he didn't know why, because they'd never happened before.
Great play call.
Incredible design, truthfully.
Yeah, I literally, Brady had not even cocked his arm, and I said, "Oh, Norfleet touchdown!" That's how open that was.
Yeah, it's too bad. His celebration was nice too. That dude, he was excited that he got that touchdown. It's too bad he's gonna have to try to replicate that again when he gets another touchdown. But listen, I think Missouri's using Norfleet a whole lot more, and I like that in the passing game. He's been incorporated a whole lot. I think he had a couple big catches too on some third downs even last week and into this week too. Brady's starting to trust him a bit more and using Norfleet with it's got a huge frame. Kid's big, and to be able to use him in this offense, I think is fun as we look ahead. But no, that's why I wanted to give a shout out to Nate Pete, because Nate Pete two rushes for 18 yards, 1 16-yard run, obviously another 2-yard rush. But we talk about Nate Pete got in there, made a little bit of noise, and the offensive line remember how to block when he was in there. Maybe he thought it was Cody. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, you like to see it. Senior night in Como.
Oh yeah,
Como kid.
Well, I mean, with the whole senior night thing being kind of folded into all of this, right? Too, there was a lot of seniors that stepped up in this game, and it did.
Well, I mean, there were 27 of them. Odds were.
Yeah, fair. It just does seem a little bit poetic. I found this too, courtesy of Missouri Stats Information. Schrader had his 4th 100-yard rushing performance in a row, and his 7th of the season. His streak is the longest by a Mizzou running back since Henry Josie in 2011. So he is putting up 100-yard games at a wild clip. He has 5,000 rushing yards in his career. That goes back to his time at D2 Truman State. Hey, did you guys know he played for a D2 team? I don't know if you guys have heard that recently, but he has played for a D2.
I've read about it a time or two.
But 5,086 yards for his career. Pretty solid career there for old Cody Schrader. We're getting that 5,000-yard mark as well. And look, Brady Cook's also doing a lot of good things quietly as well. It's tough because I don't feel like Brady Cook's he's getting credit, but I don't think he's getting enough credit for what he's been doing. If that makes sense, but because he's been putting up some pretty good numbers.
He's regressed a little bit. I don't think he looked very good for about 3 quarters last night.
That's fair.
The passing game wasn't. Now, look, I also didn't think anybody was getting open in the first half. I didn't think he had anywhere to throw the ball, but I don't know. Something was a little bit off in the passing game, and then it started working. But I think you called it a legacy drive earlier. I mean, that's got to be the best drive of his career, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything that did that. 4th and 17, and you go down and lead them to a touchdown drive, and then I'm sure you guys saw the picture of him up in the stands, which was, I mean, I said, if that kid tweeting that picture doesn't kind of give you chills, then you're not really into this whole thing very much, because that was amazing. That's
a mural. If that is not up on a mural somewhere at Mizzou, in the student union or something, that.
It's a sweet picture. It's been incredible what he's done to just kind of silence all the critics, all the haters. Obviously, there's still going to be some there, but 6,000-yard mark in career yards, very impressive for him in a career. He became the 3rd Mizzou quarterback to collect 6,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in a career, only behind Brad Smith and James Franklin. So he's going to be up there with some pretty good names when you look back at the leaderboard. But
he's got a whole nother year.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't walk.
Yeah, he's definitely coming back.
dog. That's it. It's great. It's exciting. I love to see
The shot of him and Cody on the sideline, watching the field goal was pretty cool too.
Is there a way that Cody has another year left? I know he's played 6 years, but can he finagle the system a little bit? No, okay, fine. We're starting to get all of these like COVID super seniors out of like college football. I do think there's still some there, but it's starting to like, okay, now you really cannot come back. Now we're actually going to change the locks on the facility, and you cannot come back and play anymore. That's what it's getting to at this point. But I think it's funny, like you talk about Stetson Bennett last year, right? That dude was 24 years old playing with a bunch of 18-year-olds. No wonder he was so good. Like he's 24 years old. You talk about a lot of these guys in that realm like that. I think that's a funny way to put it. But anything more on the Florida game before we put a bow on it and start to look ahead to Arkansas?
I think it's worth mentioning. I don't know how many people saw this, but Darius Robinson went to the coaching staff last week and asked that his jersey say Mizzou across the back rather than his last name. And he just said in his press conference, he said, "Look, this place is like changed my life and meant this." Like he so many of these kids, his story, Brady's story, Cody's story, like this is what you say you want out of your team, right? This is the guy I want representing this school that I love, that I spend all this time going back to. And obviously you want them representing your school a little bit more when they're 10-2 than when they're 6-7. But I think things like that are worth recognizing. That was kind of a cool thing that Darius did. And, he was talking about going and getting his rock afterwards. And he said, "No, I got 2 rocks because I got one last year too, because I thought I might be done." And he's like, "I thought maybe I was coming back, but I want to make sure I had something." So I went over and got one last year too.
And just for some people too, like that don't know this, and I know that they probably saw it last night, but like Mookie walked, but like you said, doesn't mean he's leaving.
Right.
Theo walked. He still technically has another year. Doesn't mean he's leaving. I mean, I think guys like Theo, who didn't play a lot at OU, I think he was maybe misused a little bit at OU, could maybe benefit from staying another year. Not saying he will, but could benefit. So just because they walked doesn't mean they're leaving.
I will say, I was watching the game last night with an OU fan, and he saw Theo Weese's 77-yard touchdown, and he said, "Wait a second, where was that at?" I was like, "Well, that's not his fault. That's your guys' fault." That you didn't see that.
I mean, we were all watching that play and going, "I didn't know we could run like that."
Yeah, he's fast.
We haven't seen that. No. And it also, like, that play only happened because Mookie Cooper and Luther Burden had incredible blocks that field. Dude.
It was incredible. That was an electric play. Like was that the next play after the fumble recovery? Or was it like, did they run the ball once and then do that? It was very soon after the fumble recovery.
Shortly after. Yeah.
Talk about a momentum swing.
I can't believe they didn't review it. I mean, the whole crowd cheered that they didn't review it because that was like a 4-hour game. It's almost 4 hours long. It was insane because they reviewed everything. I don't know why they reviewed the Brady Cook touchdown because it very clearly looked like he was over. I mean, they reviewed everything. That officiating crew.
That crew was interesting. I wasn't. I don't think the white hat was buff enough. I like my officials to be buff, and he wasn't buff enough for my liking. But no, before we move on to the Arkansas game, I got to tell you about our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. There's so much to be thankful for this week. Family, friends, food, and NFL football all week long. DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL action to score 150 instantly in bonus bets. No matter your appetite, there's something for you. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, and so much more. You name it, they've got it. The Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, 3-point favorites. Go check that out. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action and score 150 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Eligibility to deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. All right. Looking over at our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, the Missouri Tigers are 7-point favorites on the road as they head to Arkansas, an Arkansas team that is reeling, that has not had the season that they anticipated to have, Gabe. Early thoughts on Mizzou, Arkansas here.
Arkansas literally has one thing to play for. That is spoil Missouri season. They can't make a bowl game. They can't do the win one for Sam Pittman, who's getting fired because Hunter Yurachek said on Sunday morning he's not getting fired. He's their coach in 2024. So really all they have is, hey, let's go wreck Missouri's life for a day, which sometimes that's enough. My gut instinct on this one is Missouri had its quote-unquote letdown last night, right? I think that game actually in a lot of ways maybe works for Eli Drinkwitz because he can say, coming off a win, he can say, guys, you're this close. Like you literally, the door is right there. It is open and it is being held for you. All you have to do is walk through it and not trip. But if you mess around like you did last week, you're going to trip and you're going to regret it, So, neutral field, obviously, this would probably be a little higher. I know Arkansas beat Florida, but transitive property doesn't mean anything in college football.
No.
It's all about who shows up. I think the one concern is KJ Jefferson he's good, and he's mobile, right? He's mobile, and that has troubled Missouri at times. If Rocket Sanders is back and playing, which I don't know if he played last night. I assume he did because he played 2 weeks ago. But they've got some guys. They don't have as many guys as Florida, but they have some guys that they can give you problems.
Florida did beat Arkansas beat Florida International 44-20, which, they should beat FIU. I've been on record. Everyone on this listening to this podcast probably knows my feelings on Arkansas and how they are as a football team, Maggie. So I'll let you, I'll let you talk about the Razorbacks before I say anything.
I think at the beginning of the season, and obviously we didn't know how Arkansas was going to play out because, as per usual, I think they picked them finishing in the top half of the SEC. And
probably,
like we said, KJ is similar, I feel like, to Anthony Richardson, where they kind of like, as an individual, he's a good player, but like on the team, he was like, the team's never as good as the individual player.
Right.
I think he's a little kind of oversized right now as a quarterback. He needs to slim down a little bit to be an NFL quarterback. But
fair.
Yeah. But Brady Cook demolished Arkansas last year, like on his own. I think he had, I just looked this up because I knew it was, he had 238 passing yards, 138 rushing yards. I think he, on his own, offensed
Gained.
Arkansas. What?
Yeah.
Outgained.
Outgained. That's what I was looking for. I said out offense. Outgained Arkansas. And I know that was close. I think we only beat them by 3, but yeah. And I did look up also the Rocket Sanders because I was curious how many. He had 2 carries for 15 yards against FIU yesterday. So
maybe they just didn't want to play him against.
Yeah, against Auburn on the 11th, he had 8 carries for 0 yards. So I'm not sure how much they're really utilizing him. It doesn't seem like very much.
Yeah,
he played a lot of games.
Arkansas was picked 5th in the West in the preseason ahead of Auburn and Mississippi State. So
Yeah.
They lost
That's
to.
not really all that. But that's not really all that wrong. You're all three really bad.
For sure.
At least Arkansas has KJ Jefferson, which is better than any individual thing either of those other two have.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? They might just be sitting. I mean, they might just be sitting Marcus Sanders for a few weeks, or not playing him that much, and he could be fine for Friday. I really don't know. I assume him and KJ won't be at Arkansas next year. I think this is Rockets' junior year, and
that's the word. That's the word that they will likely be playing college football at another college.
Yeah.
I don't know why any of them would say. So yeah, I just don't see. The only thing, Gabe, you said that the only thing they have to play for is to ruin Mizzou's season. The only other thing I could say that they would maybe be playing for, unless if KJ's playing for another college, I don't know, would be KJ's senior day. But I don't know. That's the only thing. I don't think any of them care. To be perfect,
I've seen Arkansas fans on Twitter asking Missouri fans to buy tickets so that Arkansas will fire Sam Pittman. So that's how that's going.
I don't think any of them care. I don't think any fans care. I don't think any players care. I don't see Mizzou losing this game. I think Mizzou is locked in after yesterday. I don't see how they're not locked in after yesterday. I think they got scared, and I think they're going to be ready to go.
I don't understand how Arkansas can bring back Sam Pittman. I don't understand that. I don't get that. And if I was an Arkansas fan, I probably wouldn't be too stoked about that. Is his buyout crazy? Is that what it is? Or
no? If you believe the internet rumors,
I usually do.
Possible that they may have gauged interest of one Gustav Malzahn and found that maybe he wasn't super interested and decided to try to ride this out another year. I don't know. I want to be clear. I don't know if that's true or not. But when you're on a podcast and you talking about a team you don't cover, you're allowed to just say things that may have been true and say, as long as you preface it with "this is what the internet said," everybody should understand. There's at least a 51% chance it's totally false.
Yeah, no, that those are actually the rules of podcasting.
And the internet in general.
I didn't get that tablet, but I'm glad that.
Yeah, I might have forgot to forward you that email, but those are our rules. As we can, if we don't cover them, we can just say whatever we want and just say the internet said it. So that works. That works out great. I have been on this for a while that I think Arkansas is a bad football team, and there's nothing about that. Like, I guess KJ Jefferson is a redeeming quality about them. They did lose to an Auburn. They got blown out by an Auburn team that just got blown out by New Mexico State. They lost to Mississippi State, who won the game 7-3. So they're finding ways. Mizzou has been finding ways to win games. We've been saying that a lot. They're finding ways to lose games. Arkansas is.
But although
last year
they beat Florida, and this is an SEC program. This is not like. What I said last week was, I think Missouri was going to beat Florida, but I can see a world where Florida wins that game. I can see a world where Arkansas wins this game. I don't think it's likely, but I don't think anybody should. It's not Arkansas Pine Bluff. It's an actual team that it's been a while, but they have beaten Missouri before.
Has been a while indeed. As looking at Arkansas 1-6 in the conference right now, bottom of the SEC West. Hey, Arkansas Vandy would be a good game right now. I think. I wonder what the line for that sucker would be. Might be a pretty tough contest. But I agree. Going into this game, this has letdown written all over it, right? If you didn't encounter what you just encountered against Florida, and this was one of the games even prior to the Florida game that I was thinking boy, if they come out and they beat Florida by a couple touchdowns, I am going to be worried about the Arkansas game, because that just seems like that they could be a major letdown. I do think that, I don't doubt that Eli's going to have his team ready for this game. What I've learned that all good coaches, I don't want to say make up narratives, but feed their team narratives that might not necessarily be going on. I think Drigos has done a pretty decent job at giving his team a narrative this year. The one in the mini movie, I believe, against Georgia, he had a really good speech about we've already been at bottom, nobody can they can't take us any lower. which I was like, damn, like that's a bar right there.
Well, and like perfect example after the Tennessee game last week, Blake Baker tweeted, everybody said Missouri couldn't stop the run, and then tweeted this. Literally nobody. Nobody said they couldn't stop the run. But this
is the Kirby Smart effect.
It is the Kirby.
Everyone said we'd go 5-7 after we won the national championship. Kirby, nobody said that.
Right.
Not a soul said that you were going to go 5-7.
Brady Cook did say after the game last night, he said, we've been at the bottom. We've had a lot of hard losses, and we don't want to go back. So, I think we want it to go from step 1 to step 9 in like 6 seconds, right? And Eli's hired, and hey, it should just all be great. But I don't know if they have this season if they didn't have last season, right? If they didn't have the Auburn game and the Kentucky game and the Florida game, I don't know if this season happens. Because they did take something out of that.
I mean, I'm good in on that one there when it comes down, because I think
we gotta give Dennis Gates a little shout out
for sure. I was gonna do the fastest 5 minutes in college basketball, and I was gonna just have you guys talk about the Missouri-Minnesota game, because when I was following the score of that game, I did my part. I was following the score on the ESPN app, where I was watching the score. Then all of a sudden, I look down. I look away to go do something, and I came back and I said, wait a second. This Missouri have a lead now. Caleb Grill ignited the spark there with his ejection. I saw the video of it. Okay. Again, this is box score scouting by me, Gabe, so you can call me a fraud if for this, but Missouri was like minus 20 something with him in the game, and then they would have been like plus 22 without him. Shout out Dennis Gates for saying Caleb Grill lit a spark there, but I'll let the people who actually watch basketball talk about basketball.
Well, I joked when Missouri came back. I was joking with some people. I said, Caleb Grill's technical ignites Missouri to come back. My column, and then like Dennis Gates gets on the post game and says, "We don't win without Caleb Grill's technical." He told me, "Coach, I'm going to have to get a little fiery." Now, I don't think he intentionally got a technical. I'm not real sure it was what got them going. But again, if they want to use it, cool. Like, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Because Thursday was simply further proof to me that at some point, Dennis Gates just raises his arms and says, this is how it will be. And then it ends up that way. Like, he just sprinkles fairy dust on everything and it all turns to gold. And like he does that. Sometimes he's playing guys. I'm like, I don't really get this. And he tells us over and over, hey, this guy's good. Hey, this guy can do that. I really need this guy. And you don't believe him. And then it usually, by the end of last year, we're like, oh my God, why can't Trey Gilmillian play? This is going to ruin everything, and Dennis told us. So I just, I'm not really even joking. He just says things. I'm like, yeah, I guess I should believe him because he seems to usually end up right.
So in the video, people kept being like, oh yeah, he clearly made contact. Did he clearly make contact?
I don't know if he deserved to get kicked out of the game. I also don't actually know if he was even fouled. Some people thought he was. I think that's all debatable. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But, hey, it worked. And the one thing I will say about is most coaches in that situation are screaming words that should not be televised at the player who just got kicked out of the game with his team down 16. And Dennis didn't do that. And people that know the situation know there's some backstory with Caleb, and so he probably should handle him a little bit differently than maybe he would some other guys. But no, he deserves credit for, he just, you watch Dennis Gates in a game and you literally could not have any idea what's going on. You don't know if they're up by 60, down by 60. You don't really actually even know if there is a game going on or if he is just a mannequin standing on the sidelines. And I say that like jokingly, but it obviously works because we've now seen his team come back from things enough and win enough of these close games. I think he's now 9-0 when Gates decided by 5 points or less at Missouri. Like that's not an accident. That's not an accident.
I'd follow them into the end of the earth. He could start a cult. I'd join it in a heartbeat. Because I said that guy probably has this figured out. I'd join it right now.
Like, since you're the producer, can we just tell you to clip your own thing and put that out on social media? That's the promo for this show. Sure. If you had a cult, I'd join it.
I will mark.
Oh, that'd be the title.
If Dennis Gates had a cult, I would join it. I'll stand by that claim too. So if he actually does start a cult, I'm in a pickle. But but still, Missouri basketball. By the time you listen to this podcast, they've probably already played Jackson State. By the time we're recording this podcast, they have not played Jackson State, so we can't do any fancy podcast magic for you. Sorry about that, but go Tigers. Basketball is here.
We have no previews for you. I know that.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Listen,
about Jackson State.
I don't know anything about Jackson State basketball, and I'm no.
And you know what? I won't know anything about Jackson State basketball after they play.
That's fair. I was told on Twitter that I can't say that Missouri is football season because I haven't been to multiple Missouri football games this year. I was told that on Twitter.
I think one of my posts.
Yeah, it was. I was like, what is going on? I didn't know we had to decide who could be a fan and not. We had a judge and jury.
Are you allowed to say it's fall, or have you not participated in enough fall activities to say that?
I guess not. I guess
better go to a pumpkin patch.
How many pumpkin patches and hay rides have you been on?
I guess not. You can only say it's a certain season if you've been to multiple things of that season. That's what I learned this past week. So that's what the internet taught us. Missouri does have South Carolina State coming up on Wednesday the 22nd, then Loyola, Maryland on Saturday the 25th. So it's looking like I'm not going to watch a basketball game for a while.
You know what tells you it's football season? Those 3 basketball games tell you it's football season.
Bingo. All right, that's enough of this podcast. We appreciate you guys listening all the way until the end. We'll be back next week. Hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy some time with you and yours. We'll be back after Missouri plays Arkansas to give you a little bit more on this Missouri football team as they head into postseason play. It'll be an exciting time. You're going to have the College Football Playoff Committee rankings coming out on Tuesday. Don't really anticipate a whole lot of change there. Nothing really changed at the top as well. But until next week, I'm Tucker Franklin. That's Gabe DeArmond and Maggie Johnson. We'll be back with you soon. So until then, we will talk to you later.